If you've ever opened TikTok at 3 in the morning after waking up for no reason, you've probably seen a version of the same video. Different creators, different aesthetics, same claim. You're waking up at 3 because Allah is calling you. You're waking up at 3 because your guardian angel wants you to pray. You're waking up because something spiritual is happening at exactly that hour. The problem is, almost everything in that genre of content is wrong. Some of it is wrong about Islam, some of it is wrong about sleep science, and some of it is doing real damage to people who actually need help. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to look at what's actually happening to your body at 3 a.m., what Islam genuinely teaches about the late night, and why one of the most popular spiritual claims about that hour is the exact opposite of what the Prophet, peace be upon him, actually said. There's one specific medical condition that often causes 3 a.m. wake-ups, and treating it as a spiritual sign, instead of getting it diagnosed, has cost people years of their life. We'll get to it. Let's start with what your body is doing. The reason so many people wake up at 3 a.m. is not mystical. It's a hormone called cortisol. Most Americans know cortisol as the stress hormone, but it's actually part of your body's normal wake-up system. Around 2 to 3 in the morning, your cortisol begins rising in the background, preparing you to be alert by 6 or 7 a.m. Under healthy conditions, you don't notice this rise. Your body sleeps through it. But when cortisol rises too sharply, or too early, or when your stress system is overactive, that gentle background process becomes a hard wake-up call. Your eyes open, you're suddenly alert, and you can't get back to sleep. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that people who consistently wake at 3 a.m. show measurable hormonal differences from people who sleep through the night. Elevated evening cortisol in 71% of subjects. Disrupted glucose metabolism in 43%, altered melatonin timing in 39%. There's a second factor stacking on top. Your core body temperature reaches its lowest point between 2 and 4 a.m. At the same time, you're transitioning into lighter sleep stages. Polysomnography studies show 3 a.m. wakers spend 34% more time in stage 1 light sleep during the second half of the night. That means tiny disturbances, a small noise, a slight temperature change, a thought, will yank you awake when a deeper sleeper would have stayed under. So the picture is clear. Your body is biologically primed to be vulnerable to waking up exactly during those hours. And when stress, anxiety, alcohol, or hormonal disruption push the system harder, you wake up consistently. None of that is supernatural. All of it is documented in clinical sleep research. Now what Islam actually teaches, because here's where the social media version gets it wrong. There is a real hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, the most authenticated collection in Sunni Islam. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that Allah descends, in a manner befitting His Majesty, to the lowest heaven during the last third of the night. He asks who is calling upon him so he may answer, who is asking forgiveness so he may forgive, who is in need so he may give. This is one of the most beautiful narrations in the entire Islamic tradition. But notice what it does not say. It does not say Allah descends at 3 a.m. It says the last third of the night. Those are not the same thing. The last third of the night is calculated from when you went to sleep until when Fajr, the dawn prayer, begins. For someone in New York who sleeps from 11 p.m. until 5 a.m., the last third begins around 3. For someone in Los Angeles in summer, it begins later. For a Muslim in Sweden in winter, the entire concept shifts because the night is much longer. The hour changes by geography, by season, and by your own sleep schedule. So when TikTok tells you that Allah is calling you at exactly 3 a.m., it's flattening a precise spiritual teaching into a clock time that has no basis in the actual hadith. Islam is more sophisticated than that. It's tied to natural light, not to digital alarms. And there's a second problem with the spiritual interpretation, a serious one. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught something else about sleep that almost no one quotes in these videos. A companion named Abdullah ibn Amr was praying every night and fasting every day. The Prophet stopped him. He said, "Your body has a right over you. Your eyes have a right. Your family has a right. Even your guests have a right. Worship within those rights, not against them." Islam takes sleep seriously. The Prophet recommended sleeping early after the Isha prayer. He warned against staying up late for trivial reasons. He treated rest as part of worship, not as the enemy of it. The image of a constantly sleep-deprived believer, woken at 3 a.m. by spiritual forces, is not the model the Prophet built. The model he built was rest, then rise, then return to Allah from a place of strength. So, if you're chronically waking at 3 a.m. and treating it as a divine call, you may actually be doing the opposite of what Islam teaches. You may be running your body into the ground in the name of spirituality. Now the part I promised at the beginning. The thing this kind of content is doing real damage on. Persistent early morning awakening, especially with anxiety, racing thoughts, or low mood, is one of the most documented clinical signs of depression. Sleep doctors and psychiatrists ask about it routinely because it correlates strongly with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety, and untreated PTSD. If you've been waking at 3 a.m. for months, dismissing it as a spiritual experience instead of getting it medically evaluated, could be costing you treatment for a real condition. People have spent years thinking they were being spiritually called when they were actually living with undiagnosed depression, sleep apnea, hormonal imbalances, or chronic stress that could have been treated. Islam never asks you to ignore your health. The same Prophet who taught night prayer also said that whoever wakes up healthy in his body, secure in his community, with food for the day, has been given the world. So how should a serious Muslim, or a serious anyone, think about all of this? The science is clear. There is a biological reason humans wake at 3 a.m. It involves cortisol, temperature, sleep stage transitions, and modern stressors. None of it is mystical. Most of it is treatable. The Islamic teaching is also clear. The last third of the night is a sacred time, not because the clock says 3, because the prayer offered then, after honest sleep, when the world is quiet, carries weight. Muslims who voluntarily get up to pray Tahajjud are participating in something the Prophet loved deeply. That is real. That is beautiful. That is worth pursuing. But waking up exhausted, anxious, repeatedly, against your will, is not that. That is your body telling you something is wrong. Take it to a doctor. Address the cause. Then, when you're rested, set your own intention to rise for Tahajjud, freely, the way the tradition actually teaches it. Islam is not pseudoscience. The Quran asks you to reflect, to investigate, to take care of the body Allah gave you. Mistaking insomnia for divine communication is not piety. Treating the underlying problem, sleeping properly, and then voluntarily offering yourself to Allah from a place of strength, that is what the tradition actually built. I'm your Islamic friend. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.